What's good? Happy Thursday. Happy tip off for the NBA Finals coming up in about an hour. It's the Lucky Lefty podcast. I'm Shaun Davis. The Onora boys will be in the building. Left is coming to join us soon. We are brought to you by Onora Whiskey, OnoraWhiskey.com. It is that premium American whiskey, OnoraWhiskey.com. And if you drink, by all means, make sure that you drink so responsibly. We're going to save the end of the show to answer all of your Notre Dame questions. Any questions that you have, recruiting, team wise, positional, quarterback, offense, defense, coaching, anything. Just make sure you put Wild Out or WO next to it for a Wild Out segment. Wild Out with any question that you have, and we're going to try to answer it. Make sure that you subscribe. If you haven't subscribed to us on YouTube, the thumb that goes up, smash that for us. It helps us with our views. We appreciate you. Then go to Apple Podcasts and Spotify. We need you to lock in with CFB Nation. Lock in with CFB Nation. We are exclusively on CFB Nation starting in the fall. So you need to lock in with us right now. You can find all of our stuff over at Irish Breakdown, but exclusively in the fall, only on CFB Nation. We're right about 400 members. We need to really get that up over 1,000, closer to 2,000 during the season. It's the Lucky Lefty podcast, home of the misguided passion. You already know we spin it different. Had a lot of fun this afternoon co-hosting with my guy Brian Driscoll over at Irish Breakdown. We were talking about the month of June and the official visits, the top 5 guys we want to get, or the top 5 guys that are the most important visits. And then we also talked about some other things, had a mailbag. It was great to be back in the mix with my boy B. Drisk over at Irish Breakdown. I saw a question, Marcel. Yes, you already know it has a horse on it, my brother. Yes, it's one of my favorite summer shirts. One of my favorite summer polo shirts. We're going to talk about today early returns. Early returns. We're going to know without a shadow of doubt whether or not Notre Dame is good September 23rd at about 10:30 p.m. Eastern Time. It's really as simple as that. 10:30 p.m. Central Eastern Time, September 23rd, you and I will know whether or not Notre Dame is for real in 2023. Something else we're going to discuss: who's going to be the early surprise for the Notre Dame Fighting Irish? Who will be the early surprises for the Notre Dame Fighting Irish? A lot of unknowns. A lot of unknowns on the defensive line. A few unknowns in the linebacking core. There are definitely more knowns in the defensive backfield. Will special teams play a key role once again for this team? With the new coach involved. What are the early returns going to look like, right? And the inspiration for this conversation comes from an article where we look at, and I'll go through this, the most important games in college football in September. We can start September 3rd, 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time on ABC. It is the rematch of last year's game, which was absolutely fabulous, and you love the debacle of the LSU special teams with their fabulous coach that is no longer the special teams coach under Brian Kelly. LSU and Florida State. Now, before we get to Notre Dame and their early returns, let me mention this game because this game is very intriguing. LSU has talent. They had a lot of young talent last year, and that young talent now gets an opportunity to be in the Brian Kelly system for 2 years. They lose a headache in the locker room or in the wide receiver room, in my opinion. So it should be addition by subtraction. Jaden Daniels comes back. They have a solid backup in Nussmeier. So, yeah, everything looks good, right? But here comes Florida State. And in my opinion, Florida State outplayed and outcoached LSU in last year's matchup. This game, without question, has college football playoff implications right off the bat. And this would be the true test, especially for Florida State, because I think if we're being honest, Florida State is a team that most people feel like they're receiving a little bit too much hype. Just a little bit too much hype right now. Totally understand why you might feel that way. Totally understand why you might feel that way. But there's a reason why they're getting that hype, right? Now, I will say this is a season that they have to prove that they can close because they were the prerequisite or the blueprint to Notre Dame, especially in the running game, for what you can do to the defensive front of Clemson. People forget that they averaged over 5 yards a pop against Clemson in that matchup that was 2 weeks prior to the Notre Dame game. Notre Dame watched that film and said, yo, we can get some hay. We can make some hay against this Clemson defense in the run game. They just were not able to make the plays late in the third and the fourth quarter to seal the deal. This is their opportunity to establish and then go into Death Valley, beat South Carolina, beat Clemson, and solidify themselves as a true contender for the college football playoffs. We'll see. Brian Kelly, LSU. Hey, you know what it is. Brian Kelly did win a big game last year by defeating Alabama at home. He also got destroyed by Tennessee at home. He lost to Florida State week 1. Heck, he almost lost to Arkansas at the end of the season. Brian Kelly teams, more than likely, don't play to the level of their ability when it comes to big games. I would expect nothing but that, right? When someone shows you who they are, believe them. For the most part, that is a Brian Kelly-led team, especially week 1. Don't you remember 2016 Texas? Oh, boy. Woo. Just horrible. Horrible. So this matchup for me goes a long way to establishing which one of these teams. Look, Florida State can afford to lose this game because they can come back and run the table in the ACC. Florida State can afford to lose this game. LSU, in my opinion, has no wiggle room. None. They can't afford to. Of course, they can go on a run, win the SEC championship and all. No, No. If LSU loses this game, I don't see the season going in a positive direction for them, in my opinion. Next up, the very next Saturday, Texas and Alabama. Texas, who played an absolutely amazing game and had Alabama beat in the fourth quarter down in Austin last year, will get an opportunity to go visit Tuscaloosa. And honestly, talent or the talent disparity between these two teams is razor thin right now. I would slightly give Alabama the edge defensively. I think this might be one of Alabama's best modern age defenses. Not the old school with the big thumpers in the middle at linebacker with the 300-pound lineman. No, this will be Nick Saban's best new age nickel style defense that he's ever had at Alabama. And it's going to be challenged by the skill positions and the skill position players at Texas. There will be a challenge. This quarterback situation at Alabama, man. Jalen Milroe, Tyler Buckner. They have a great stable of running backs. They have a great freshman class. Caleb Downs looks like he's going to be in the running to be a starter in the secondary for the Alabama Crimson Tide. I can go either way in this game, but I can tell you this. Texas has to win this game. Texas, let me ask you this, guys. Who needs to win? And I'm glad Left jumps in right here. Left, if you can, be objective. Who has to win their big early game more? Texas versus Alabama or Notre Dame versus Ohio State?
Definitely Notre Dame versus Ohio State because Texas hasn't been relevant in the win category for big games or even, newsworthy needing to win in a long time. So Notre Dame beating Ohio State is our crossover game into the championship tier like everybody else.
You know what, LL Nation? Let me know what you think about that, right? Because Texas has been saying they're back for a long time. At least Notre Dame has been to some college football playoffs. At least Notre Dame has had a streak of winning 10 games in the season.
That's right.
Where the heck has Texas been?
Texas is they've always been the guys window shopping on the store of greatness. They've always been the guys in the mall that wear the nicest clothing but had the emptiest pockets of the crew. Everybody's shopping at Gucci. They shopping at Old Navy, but they want to be in Gucci. They finally got their money up. They got their summer job working at the pool. They done stacked the bread. It was a hot summer. A lot of kids came to the pool. Now they wearing the same kind of clothes, but it's not about the clothes. It's about the man wearing the clothes. But it's put makeup on a pig, but it's still a pig.
Absolutely.
It's the same effect in watching the Texas football team roll out. It's just a fancier pig.
You know how they treat the pig pretty well down there in Texas, bro. They roast them, they grill them, they barbecue them.
Yeah, but he still gets cooked, just like Texas does during the late parts of the season, getting cooked when it matters most. But I do think that having Steve Sarkisian, you're gonna give yourself a chance with a pretty darn good quarterback in Quinn Ewers. I think they'll have a relevant chance of being in contention to hopefully be where they should be as a top tier program, and that's playing late in December, early January.
Well, they had a good shot against Alabama last year. They had Alabama right where they wanted them in the fourth quarter.
Remember when Alabama was almost got with Sam Houston in the first quarter?
I remember that.
That's how I felt about the same thing.
Everyone was taking pictures of the scoreboard. And,
yeah,
I remember that.
Close but no cigar. It was about as close as we was against Alabama in 2012. That's how close that game was about to be.
Oh man, Lucky Lefty podcast. That's interesting, bro. That's interesting. I just think that game means a lot to Texas, especially as they enter into membership in the SEC. But I do believe, yeah, this game is huge for Notre Dame, bro.
Texas is like Franklin's dad from Snowfall. Had a period of greatness, had a long fall after greatness, and now he's on this recovery where people don't really know how to feel. It's like, yeah, we want you back. We want you to be in prominence, but then again, you're still good old Franklin's dad at the end of the day.
Shout out to the chat. Enigma said, yeah, you talking about that window shopper. Window shopper is one of my favorite early 50 Cent joints.
That's right.
That's
That's
really when he was on the warpath dissing Ja Rule. It's one of my favorite joints.
right. Man, 50 Cent during the beefs, man, is a
The third most important early game in the national landscape, September 23rd, 6:30 p.m., Ohio State at Notre Dame. There's nothing else to be said.
it's not.
No,
Um
nothing else to be said. You have the
Definitely
better
the game.
quarterback.
Yeah, definitely the game that determines where the chess pieces will move in the football season. For a team like Ohio State, I think them losing to us is going to hurt them when it matters most later in the season when they're lining up against Michigan, because those are one of the two most important games they have all season. So I know that losing would take a big chunk out of them, especially when we're talking about getting to those playoffs the way they're constructed right now.
Man, it's so much when you look at this Ohio State Notre Dame game. From a recruiting standpoint, it's going to be a humongous weekend. We know that. And in order to take the next step, it's one thing to beat Clemson. But Notre Dame did that. They did that in 2020, right? And they played close games against Clemson. This Ohio State thing, becoming the best team in this region, should be what Notre Dame wants. See, under Lou Holtz, there was no one in the Midwest better than Notre Dame. You can throw Penn State in there, you can throw Michigan in there, Ohio State, Michigan State. We spanked them all. Hey, bring them on. We'll spank them all. We're the best program in this region. We run things. That's the same mentality you want to have. And winning that game on September 23rd is going to go a long way to establishing that for Notre Dame. Happy birthday to you, Sports School 77. Hopefully the Irish can give you a great birthday present.
Yeah, the only one that really matters on that day is a dub. What a great W.
Have to get a dub. Lucky Lefty podcast. You guys excuse me because
We still on, baby. We still on. Look,
sorry about that. I had to cough
summer.
real quick, Left.
Yeah, it's getting summer and clearing up that pollen out there in the Midwest.
Dude, that pollen is, man, it is like the attack of the pollen.
Attack
It's crazy. Man, as soon as you walk outside, pollen is everywhere, bro. It's crazy. And I've never had an allergy issue until recently. My sinuses are like adjusting on me as I get older. It's just not good, bro. It's not good.
Nah, that's
September. Why do people continually want to give Florida national credit, bro?
man. That Tim Tebow put a huge imprint. Him and Urban Meyer as
That's
on
a
that.
good point. That's a good point. They're like the 85 Bears in Chicago
Oh man, it's
down
like
there in
you
Gainesville.
can't tell them. They feel like they've had a golden period or a golden age in the 2000 era that stands the test of time. I think the last 3 or 4 years of college football has probably outshined those couple years of Florida
Uh-huh.
because there's just been some historic teams put together the last 5 years, really, on just a clear cut. Like it's almost worse than the NBA Finals or the NBA playoff system, where it's only 2 or 3 teams that's looking to be at the end of the road. Every year in college football is damn near even worse. The last 2 years, you haven't seen this clear cut dominance between the top and everybody else in a while, man. I just think that it shows how recruiting has turned the tide on dynasties.
So Tennessee and Florida, they face off early. That's a pivotal game for the SEC East to see who's going to finish second to Georgia, more than likely. So, I mean, Tennessee gets Georgia at home. And then, heck, don't forget, Florida opens at Utah, bro. That's that's going to be a tough game for the Gators as well. They open at Utah August 31st. So we'll know by September 16th whether or not Florida's for real.
Yeah, we'll know early with that team. I think, with Oregon, remember Oregon, they had Georgia the first game. They got mollywopped so bad, we didn't talk about them till 8 games in the half a season pass. And
Oregon, they recovered nicely until they walked up against Michael Penix in Washington.
Oh, yeah. I mean, they started, ripping off 60, 50-point games after that Georgia debacle. And then they played a good team in Washington. That's a good match.
Yeah, yeah. Now, when you think about this, Left, this is for you. This is going to be a game that I know you'll be watching. It is the early matchup between the Georgia Bulldogs and the South Carolina Gamecocks, who were really hot late in the SEC season. And then they went on the road and beat Clemson. And then they ran up against Notre Dame, had to physically smack them around a little bit, treat them like the SEC puppies that they are. But they face Georgia. And this is, give me your percentage. Georgia can three-peat. Give me the percentage of it happening.
They're going to be close to the edge of the end of the road.
You think so?
Yeah, I don't think they're going to be a team that like bombs out like North Carolina men's basketball, where they just freaking.
Did he make the tournament?
Yeah, absolutely embarrassed themselves the season after. But I do think that they'll get close, and a lot of their closer games are going to be a lot closer just because I think Tennessee has a better quarterback than they do this year. They don't have at least the Stetson Bennett that has the veteran experience on offense to complement the defense that they'll probably repeat. We'll see if they can do it again with another no name guy, and no name meaning they don't have the first pick of the draft quarterback or the greatest walk on.
Oh, you mean Kirby? Does Kirby have another 7-year non-graduate in his back pocket?
Yeah, is he? I mean, how did he even stay at school that long? Even GAs graduate.
This dude had to be dropping the most classes, taking kinesiology classes, and basically just doing nothing.
I think his first championship was like getting a degree. So they was like, you know what? If you stay in, you're good with us. But either way it goes, it's super ghetto. Cardell Jones was right. I think he took a lot of shellacking over or it was the shield for what Stetson Bennett carried through the unnoticed until the end. We should have been grilling him on this before they played Alabama, throw some controversy in it.
Oh, man. No, it's real hush-hush when it comes to the non-graduate. They love him for the 2 championships, but that degree?
What happened to student? It don't matter no more.
No. What is student athletes? Doesn't matter at Georgia. Not at all. Kirby's like, man, we're good.
Championship's too loud. They can't hear the student part.
I'm sure he can come back 15 years later and finish up his degree, though.
I'm telling you, why go to the NFL? Retire, live in Athens, Georgia for the rest of your life. You never have to pay for food again. You never have to pay. You don't have to pay for nothing.
Yeah, that's a good point. Lucky Lefty podcast and bringing up the rear. I don't know what this is going to show, but it is an interesting matchup to close out September 30th in Boulder, USC in Colorado. Now, I'll tell you what I'm interested in seeing. I'm interested in seeing if Baby Boy Sanders can work himself into the second round against that porous pass defense for USC. See if he can put up 350.
That's
And
like the USC UCLA game.
yeah, I'm interested in Kamani McLean and Travis Hunter, seeing if they can lock down playing 1-on-1 against the USC receivers.
I mean, in
Those are the
Pac-12
matchups.
games, all of them versus Washington.
Oh, them versus Washington is going to be
you know,
amazing. Oh my, dude.
it's gonna be, it's just the whole. It's gonna be a great Pac-12 season from just high flying skill matchups.
I'll be searching out every UCLA game. I'm trying to watch Dante play just about every week. At some point, he's going to start. At some point, he's definitely going to start. Yeah. At some point, they got too much money riding on him, bro. That's way too much money out there.
Well, yeah, but it's like, is Nico Imavlita going to start? Probably not. And they paying him the most.
Yeah.
Quote unquote.
So that closes out September. So let me give you the list of teams. We had USC, Colorado, South Carolina, Georgia, Tennessee and Florida, Ohio State, Notre Dame, Texas, Alabama, LSU, Florida State. Out of those matchups, which give me three teams that you think will kind of take a step forward in the month of September and announce to college football that we're here.
Out of those teams, I mean, obviously,
if Alabama wins, that's not them really stepping forward. I mean,
I think them winning early in the year is pretty big because usually they're getting a lot of softballs early and under recruited teams early, but them playing Texas as early as they did in the season, I thought it was pretty refreshing. I haven't seen Alabama in a relevant game that early. Usually catching them towards the end when they're like 10-0 and they going against Auburn. And you like, damn, they silently whooping all these weaker teams. But to see them struggle in September, people are like, whoa, Nick Saban struggling. I don't even go together. So I think that's definitely put Alabama back on the radar for this game. But, them boys going down to Tuscaloosa. It's a little different than going to the Texas.
Yeah, it's a little different playing in Austin.
Going to Austin, it's cool. It's but it's just not Alabama Tuscaloosa.
Yeah.
So that environment, it's a little different. But they got a good quarterback, so that could be a good neutralizer.
You bought into Quinn Ewers?
I think Quinn Ewers is definitely the best quarterback they've had that you can count on in a big game. I would put some money on him against a pretty good team, just because I think he is talented enough with the coach he has, who's going to put him in a good position.
For me, it's just the matter of I loved the way Quinn Ewers played early in that Alabama game before he hurt his ankle. He was really calm, man, poised.
Yeah, the poise stood out the most where you said, okay, yeah, they're playing Alabama, but it doesn't look like he's feeling like they're playing Alabama. Yeah. Where some quarterbacks like, oh, like, look at the quarterbacks that play Georgia. Them boys was out there running for their life. It was like, oh, you know, they about to
Yeah,
get ran out the building. When
yeah,
Texas Quinn was in there taking deep shots, playing poised, didn't look rattled, and the defense was, still aggressive, and he was handling it. So the boys convinced me that he would have been fine in that game as it progressed.
yeah. Lucky Lefty podcast. D-Rock Irish, thank you for the update, man. Decision out of Destin, Florida, which is a beautiful vacation spot, by the way. The SEC approves the 8-game conference schedule. That means there won't be a lot of crossovers and you might lose some rivalries, especially with the addition of Texas and Oklahoma. Should be interesting. But it leaves them opportunities to make big games like Alabama out of conference, Texas out of conference. I believe Notre Dame has Alabama coming up in 3 or 4 years out of conference, if I'm not mistaken. So
Shoot, Tyler Buckner, that'd be his senior year by then, All the years he got left.
I think it's 2027 that series starts, if I'm not mistaken. And Doma Wop, that's LSU, Florida State, Texas, Alabama, Ohio State, Notre Dame, Tennessee, Florida, USC, Colorado, and South Carolina, Georgia.
See, the Tennessee Florida game will be of significance because it can tilt the weight of hype train for either team building up to those games where they're playing the Alabamas and the Georgias when that time comes. I think having Tennessee really good during that early part of the year made SEC football more attractive to watch when those matchups, like the Tennessee Georgia game, the the Kentucky Georgia game when Kentucky was really good. So when those middle of the road teams get some buzz and going into these LSU and Alabama games with that type of talent, I think it is SEC makes its presence known from an attractive standpoint.
You're right about that. Lucky Lefty podcast, dude. I'm going to say that Notre Dame, Florida State, and Georgia. Because I think Georgia has something to prove. I think Georgia has, which is crazy, right? Didn't that just sound crazy? That the fact that Georgia has something to prove. But I really feel like Georgia has something to prove this year. Without the quarterbacks, can they do it again? Really young on the defensive side of the ball, tons of talent on the offensive side of the ball. They lose 3 offensive linemen early in the NFL draft. Like,
I mean, it's not a lot. It's no different than what Bama has to prove every year. Once they, started to win their back to backs,
let me tell you something, boy.
That standard of keeping that level of intensity up, and that's like how, you're not comparing LeBron to other people. You're comparing LeBron to his younger self. So with Alabama, he's comparing himself to his 2010s where he was winning back-to-back championships with crazy defenses. That's why he's got a crazy defense this year, trying to outdo those years. So for Kirby, people are going to look back on his career and was like, okay, well, what did you look like after that back-to-back run? It's like it is no secret. The cat's out of the bag. You 26 in what, 2 seasons, it feel like. What? So keeping it up is like, at this point, it's like, when is it just going to be, it's on its last stand? We saw before the state, the first 2 years were great. Yeah. And then that third year was like, man, just get these guys to the the boys crossing that finish line, struggling against Oregon that last game. But that was after 36 games of whooping on teams straight,
I had this conversation, and this kind of correlates with Sam Hartman and Notre Dame. I had this conversation with someone, and we were talking about Ohio State and Georgia being in similar territory, not having a quarterback after having a guy that you can depend on for multiple years. And my contention is Georgia doesn't need their quarterback to be what CJ Stroud was. They don't. They can go win games, running the ball, defense, making a few plays. That's what they've been doing. That's what they did with Stetson Bennett. If they can find a quarterback to make a few plays a game, Georgia would be fine. Ohio State, on the other hand, if they don't get a quarterback, they can throw that pill.
It's gonna be a wrap.
It's a wrap.
Wrap. That's why
It's a wrap.
Because what are a running team now? What are they back in 2015?
I don't know what Devin Brown and Cal McCord have in their back pocket. I don't know who they're going to be when the lights shine. But they have some huge shoes to fill.
Yeah, there ain't enough running back power in the world.
And Ohio State.
Championship team running the football. You have to be premier in the passing game, and we have a chance. We got a premier passer who's proven himself, maybe not on this level of football from a week in to week out basis. However, he's better than what Ohio State got. And Ohio State has to wonder where that production at the quarterback position is going to come from, considering the replacement of a guy who was the second pick of the draft. It's not their fault, but it's also not easy to replace that production because your offense was heavily dependent, especially your number one receiver was heavily dependent on that position being second pick of the draft, talent worthy.
Now you have two first round caliber wide receivers in Harrison Jr. and Ibuka and an incoming freshman. That's a dude. Hey, that's a lot of pressure, bro. That's a lot of pressure because I can tell you right now, looking at those three dudes, Ryan Day is not running the ball. Ryan Day is not running the ball. He has no desire to run the ball.
And unless Kyle
McCord,
McCord's top two quarterback in the nation this year, it's going to look different.
Yeah.
You think it's easy to just go out there and put up 45 points and make your receiver look like the number one receiver in the country with an average guy? Average meaning he's not the number two pick of the draft. It's just unrealistic to think you're going to have another year that they're going to go through what Clemson went through during that DJ K. Klubnik transition, where they're still coming off being a top tier program, but their quarterback ain't generationally the same, which put the supercharged battery in their back where you're penciling them in for the national championship before the season starts.
Mm-hmm.
You're not doing that with them now.
This correlates to Notre Dame because Sam Hartman comes in. He's an upgrade at the quarterback position. Well, we understand that. You can talk about him being top 5 in the nation, all of that. Heisman candidate. It's all plausible. But Notre Dame has won football games the way Notre Dame wins football games. Notre Dame, but you talked about it. You've called them out and said, hey, it's time to come into the new age. It's time to come from being the Flintstones and become the Jetsons.
That's right.
As far as offensive football. This is my question. Look, talent-wise, quarterback-wise, they have every reason to do so.
Yeah, it's just like
this Ohio State game is going to be a clear indicator not only for the players, but it's going to be a clear indicator for this coaching staff, starting with Marcus Freeman. Because I want to see if he gets tight, if the game is close, or if he continues to be aggressive. That's if it goes that way, and it's 17-14 in the third quarter.
Well, how much are you saying on the defensive end or the offensive end? Aggressive on or just
offense?
Yeah, okay. So how much
They're
control?
going to play good defense.
How much control do you think he has on the aggressiveness of style of play? Because last year he was talking about, yeah, we're gonna run the ball and be a little sturdy on stout on defense, but we're looking to take our time on offense. But this year, um, I feel like he knows he has the advantage, but is he going to be on Jared Parker being like, look, we can throw the ball down the field?
Yeah.
Or is he going to be like, all right, we're going to let him do what he does and we're going to make sure our defense on our end is where it should be? I'm just making sure we're physical.
Yeah. Yeah. For me, I'm looking for that, right? Clear indicator early returns is Marcus Freeman stepping out of that shell. I understand in your first season, especially after, well, I'll say this. He opened it up when they played North Carolina. When they went up, he knew he was going up against Drake May. Him and Tommy.
He knew he saw that Appalachian State tape and was like, listen,
Yeah.
we're not going in here.
If App State can put up numbers,
We're not going in scoring under 35 points. No, sir. Not if App State is doing that.
right.
We don't not scared. We're not even acting like we scared. We are scoring points. And we did that. But we need to act like we've watched them, the team that we're about to play versus App State every week. Because it didn't look like it was, we didn't care who they had at quarterback. It didn't look like it. I didn't hear about Drake May at the end of the season. That was way after we done played them.
They looked at App State like we used to look at Julian at parties. Because, Chicago, to be so big, is really a small city. Everyone knows each other. So in high school, we would go out. We would have our Letterman jackets on. Morgan Park is popping in the city. It's just it's like one of the top high schools. Everybody wants to go there academically. At least they did at that time. Man, sports was dope. Football was good. Basketball was good. Baseball was super dope. Like, man, our colors, that green with that orange, they popped on the varsity jackets. And we walked in the party, bro. It was a wrap. It was a wrap. Other crews was like, oh, man, here comes Morgan Park. Here comes these dudes. And then you got the girls like, oh, what's up, y'all? Yeah. That's kind of like how that App State had to film had to move over after Notre Dame came through against North Carolina. Like, y'all think y'all put up some good film? Watch this. Watch what we do to these dudes.
A racehorse contest.
And Notre Dame turned the ball over at the goal line, or at least twice. I know Aldrich fumbled at the goal line. We had another fumble. So that's 14 points that we left on the field. It should have been a worse drubbing.
Yeah.
We should have been a worse drubbing.
We were going for it.
Man, Lucky Lefty podcast. So we'll have some early returns on Notre Dame. We'll find out about Marcus Freeman. We'll find out about this coaching staff. We'll find out about this team. We'll definitely find out about Sam Hartman, because that's why he was brought here. That's why he was brought here. I think we're going to find out about this wide receiver core too.
I mean, yeah, it's no excuse, man. It's too many signs to point to us turning the page and having this dull production out of the receiver room to where it's like, all right, it's either the coach or it's the players. Like Dale Alexander said, we ain't got no players. We can actually find out if we ain't got no players and all that recruiting stuff, if it's true, if we go out there and can't have a 1,000-yard receiver or can't lead the team in offensive points, or we don't have two guys like all the other great teams have two guys that are first-round receivers. How many teams got two first-round receivers? We ain't even got one. Or do we know yet?
Washington has two.
Ohio State got
Ohio
two.
State has two. USC has one for sure, but they have some guys.
Colorado got a couple coming.
The young gentleman that just got arrested for speeding, Rosemary, the wide receiver for Georgia, They have one for sure. I think he's going to be a first rounder. He was a true freshman last year. His name is Rosemary St. Jack or something like that.
Yeah.
I might have messed up his name.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Man, get some speed on the outside.
I'll be honest, love. I think Sam Hartman's going to be under a lot of pressure September 23rd. But whoever is the starting quarterback for Ohio State,
way worse.
Man. Now, the fact that he does have some studs at wide receiver should make it fun for him.
Yeah, but we love to do quarterbacks really good services when they play against us at home. Even DJ, we was giving DJ this Joe Montana-esque type of play. Where he's setting records on our field against us. I'm like, oh my goodness. Then he go out and never put another performance like that again ever. So we known for turning guys' careers up all the way. Like, forget our good old guy from Northwestern, Trevor Simeon, putting his career on the map.
Cannot believe.
I will never forget that. I don't know why I always talk about that game, but it was just like,
was that the Cam fumble game?
Oh man, it was just a terrible. I mean, because it could have been way worse. Because that was a game where all their receivers were dropping wide open
deep passes. You're right. You're right. Yes, you're right, Left. You are right.
And I'm like, who is this quarterback just dicing us? He is letting us off the hook. Because he both had 50 points at Notre Dame today. Like, and then I just never forgot that. And so
is that the worst loss at Notre Dame Stadium?
Oh man, no,
is that worse than Marshall? Is that worse than Marshall?
I just think the way we lost Stanford, when we scored like 6 points or something crazy, or it was 13 because it was the point total against a team that had no quarterback. I mean, no, he did get drafted or something, right?
Yeah,
but I mean, come on, he got drafted for his size, not because he was worth a damn.
Tulsa was a bad loss. Thank you, Tyler. Misguided pass. Yeah. That Tulsa loss was bad. Yes. Thank you, Tommy Reese.
Well, hell, in that case, the Marshall loss was even worse because then we ain't scored no points in that game either. Against a team in the Sun Belt that went 5-5 that year or something crazy.
Man.
They already won this. They threw the Gatorade bath on the coach. Second game of the season. They already won. It was over. They was like, what do you mean? We beat Notre Dame this season? Where our rings at?
Yeah.
Where our rings at? I mean, I'm talking about the black coach out there like they just like they was Alabama. So I don't know. They really overhyped that. I think they were surprised. And it ruined their season because they beat us. So, whatever. Everybody's season got ruined that day.
Lucky Lefty podcast. When we come back, we'll tie a bow on this thing and give you an update, Left. It's not looking good for one of our favorite athletes, bro. It's not looking good. Lucky Lefty podcast. We spit it different. We're back here on the Lucky Lefty podcast. 300-pound defensive tackle from Riverview, Shaun Civiliano, Riverview High School out of Clearwater, Florida. He has a decision to make tomorrow. Most people think he's going to commit to Notre Dame. The question asked by David Solomon, we'll get to it, and then I'll have Malik watch his film and give you an answer. Before that, Adam Silver, commissioner of the NBA, he met with the media as he does before game one of the NBA Finals each and every year, and he was asked about Ja Morant. And I quote, "We've uncovered a fair amount of additional information. We probably could have brought it to the head now, but we've made the decision that would be unfair to the players and the teams to announce that decision in the middle of this series. That dude's gone for a year left.
What other addition?
And for dude, and look, this is the league, bro. This is the league, bro. When they like the feds. When they tell you they got something, they got something left.
What
I don't know what it is. I hope and I pray that this young man has not allowed himself to be caught up and connected in any way, shape, or form with criminal activities because of the people around him. I do not need him to be a young thug of the NBA. I don't need that. I don't need affiliation dragging this young man down. And I will say this. More than likely, the first time they met with him, they probably had the information.
But if it was that bad, it would have been like like it would be police, so it'd be like news and regular news, right?
For him to say it would be unfair to announce it, it would be unfair to the players and the coaches in the finals to announce what we found and the actions that were going to take place. That means the announcement would supersede. It would be a bigger story than the NBA finals, bro. That's correct. He is saying if I made the announcement now,
it would finals.
Hey, bro.
Unless you banning somebody for life or something, it can't. Because this finals a good finals. There's a lot of storylines.
A year suspension? That's pretty huge, bro.
But they gotta say something. It has to be bigger than that because Denver's never won a championship or been there before. So I feel like that's a huge storyline.
I think you're missing the fact that there's no true megastar in the finals. See, that's and Ja Morant as a star is bigger
than the stars on 18.
Yes.
Sure. From an optics, I guess.
Yes. That's the story. You would have dudes running out. If he said something in the middle of the press conference today, media people would have gotten up and ran out of the media room to start researching and finding out and writing stories. You know that would have happened.
It would last. It'd probably be a 2 or 3 day news cycle. It wouldn't, because the finals would probably be at least 2 weeks, a week and a half.
Let me tell you something. I guarantee you this. He didn't even say anything. Just the mention of it, I guarantee you it's in the A block of every sports show tomorrow.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it'll be in the A block.
And he didn't even say anything.
Oh, you talking about tomorrow, like just in general? Yeah.
Like they'll talk about the game.
They'll talk about it.
They'll talk. Man, Molly is going to be like, let's talk about game one. What are your thoughts?
Right. Game one.
All right, gentlemen. It's time to move on. And we go to Memphis where Ja Morant. Dude, I'm telling you, it's gonna be A block. It's gonna be A block. It's crazy. It's gonna be A block. Easily A block, bro. Easily.
They depending on how this game go, they definitely gonna mention the game briefly, depending on how the game goes.
Don't let this game be a blowout.
Oh yeah,
I promise you.
They might jump.
Oh yeah, without question. Without question. Without question. Without question. Like
the game was cool. His John stuff, yeah,
man. So as we said, 300-pound defensive tackle, Riverview High School out of Florida, home of the late great Louis Nix. And David Solomon had a question for you, Left. Shaun Sevillano commits tomorrow. Are we getting Louis Nix or are we getting Jameson Franklin? By the way, Franklin, shout out to him and everything that his family's gone through with his mom.
That's the guy Duke, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
Shout out to him. Respect to him. So what I'm gonna do is I'm giving you a chance to check out his film, Left, and you tell me. You said you want the big dudes up front, Left, and big man from Florida.
hold on, go to Q expanded. He definitely moves side to side pretty quick. Definitely pretty quick. He like one of those athletic big dudes that can play basketball. He has unusual good handles for a big dude. Like how you like your hand eye coordination is you got skinny dude hand eye coordination, but you just a heavy set dude. You know how some of them Samoans are built like 300 pound plus,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
I'm like, but I don't eat much. It's just because he just big like that, and I think for him to be as coordinated as he is, um, that's something that you like to see, especially moving laterally on the D line, knowing how we like to do all the stunts and flips and blitzes and things we like to do there. Maybe not the most uh, impactful on the point of attack,
Mm.
but in terms of shedding blocks and moving gaps, it definitely fits into what the scheme of what we're trying to do is. But if you just saying straight two gapping guys, I don't think that's his game. I think he's more of a run stopper who's great with his hands and playing in the gaps. But when it comes to just monster Jalen Carter, I'm a bull rush you with one arm and then sack the quarterback with the other. I don't think he's that. But he will be a good compliment to um, what we're doing on defense as a piece of the defense.
There you go. Sean Civiliano makes his decision tomorrow. Florida
Like
schools
he's a
won.
Kurt Heinrich type of guy, bro.
Man, Kurt Heinrich turned out to be a pretty good Notre Dame player, bro.
Yeah.
He's pretty productive. So depth to get him in the class, cool. To get him in the class along with Justin Scott,
Yeah.
now we're talking. Now we're talking. Lucky Lefty podcast, so he makes his decision on tomorrow, and more than likely, in my opinion, I think the Fight Irish sit pretty good, sit pretty well with the young man. Before we go any further, wild out question: can't hide speed. In your opinion, how much did the ending of the 2023 recruiting cycle change the perception of Notre Dame for 2024 recruits?
It just depends on how we win in the season and what recruits are making an impact in that season. Um, I think our recruiting Super Bowl this year is the Ohio State game. Last year was the Clemson game. We're going there and mollywop on an Ohio State. I just think that uh, uh, insulates or re-insulates the buffer around the transition of what Marcus is doing in the recruiting game. We were top 10 in the poll I saw. We were like number 8 for recruiting, but beating a team that's above you in recruiting in the season, I think stands and bodes well for your recruiting the next year, how it turns over, because that's a great piece to
Yeah,
point to and say, this is the future. We whooping up on them boys with our young guys that we recruited in the class before. Like, I think Carnell Tate was sold once he saw the freshman Ibaka, number 10, for Ohio State, make all those plays as a true freshman. He was like, oh, well, they're applying what they're saying in recruiting as a Notre Dame. Our
yeah.
bias took his helmet out on the field.
Action speak louder than words. So you can talk to kids about your vision and turning things around, but going out there and doing it is an entirely different thing. I'm sure the reference is probably to what took place with Peyton. Look, Peyton Bowen's a flat out liar. He's a pathological liar.
Oh, they called the man a pathological.
Pathological liar. I have no respect for anyone that sits up the night before on the video call with the rest of the recruits, acting as if everything is cool, and the whole time you're still talking with two other schools. You and your dad. No respect for that. I can't even put that on Notre Dame. That's just a flat out dastardly lack
Yeah,
of integrity. Unfortunately, that's the integrity that's leading that young man and his brother at this point, from a parenting standpoint. So it is what it is. And I don't want to hear anything. Well, man, he's a kid. I don't want to hear that. I don't want to hear that. I don't want to hear that. Because there's a lot of things that my parents told me when I was a kid that I flat out told them, man, I don't want to do that.
yeah.
I don't want to do that. I'm talking about at 15, 16, 17. He had the opportunity to say, man, I don't know. That's not how I want to come across. I don't think that's cool. So it is what it is. It is what it is. And coaches do act. And when coaches act like donkeys, I call them donkeys.
Is it funkies or is it donkeys? I ain't heard
Man, you call them donkeys, jack A's, whatever you want to call them. When they act like that, that's what I call them. Because it's not a matter of age or anything else. That's integrity, man. That's integrity.
I mean, to an extent,
That's it. That's it, bro.
not
I don't
everybody
want to hear
got
that.
the same
I
morals.
don't want to hear that because you had every moment when you woke up the next morning when you knew you were walking into that restaurant and picking up another hat to text or call Notre Dame and say, I've changed my mind.
Well, you know how some people get cold feet the night before the wedding and leave out. Girls do it all the time. How? Because think about it though. How many times have you seen the videos of the dude set up the nice proposal? I mean, got him on the United Center jumbotron, got the question popped up. Everybody's looking, and she be like, "Nah, I'm good."
If you were at that's funny you say that. If you were at Staples and they did that whole kiss camera thing with you and
Uh,
and your lady, well, how do you think she would play you?
no, we'll get on the kiss cam for sure, for sure.
My wife would play me. I
Oh,
already know it. I already know it. I already know it. I already know it, bro. I already know my wife would do something silly, bro. She would do something silly because she plays like that.
gee, yeah, I
She
can't
would
play
she
with you, bro.
she
I'll be
would
like,
play she would play like she didn't know me or something. That's
ah,
just how she is, bro. She's silly like that, man.
that's funny though, but I'll be like, oh,
Bro,
I can't
that's
play.
how she is, and she would think it was the
I
most
can't.
hilarious thing in the world.
You be cracking up. You be like, for real.
She would think it was the most hilarious thing in the world, and I
Oh,
would be sitting there like, for real?
yeah,
That's
you
what we're
gotta
doing.
eat it. You just sit there like, you for real? You gonna do
That's
this?
what we're doing. Oh my god,
Like
man!
she'll play into it the whole night. Like you like, all right, cool.
Oh man! But yeah, I think from a recruiting standpoint, for me, more than the Peyton Bowen thing, the Keon Keeley thing, being 9-4, losing to Marshall, losing to Stanford, and then getting
that don't
blasted on the
help.
road against USC.
It
That
don't
hurt
help
more than
Richard Young.
anything.
You know, it don't help with a Richard Young and Keon Keeley.
No,
Our guy we ended up going Georgia, Samuel, and Pimba.
yeah,
So
all
dang,
of that hurts.
Georgia too, huh?
Yeah, you'll probably see him coming off the edge week 2 or 3.
Dang.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, it's a nice replacement for a Nolan Smith. I tell you that.
yeah, yeah,
Just know how to reload, I guess.
yeah.
We got Jalen Sneed, so we're good.
Yes, we do. Yes, we do, Fight Irish fans. We got James Sneed, Nolan Ziegler, we got Jay Nosberry, we got Drake Bowen. Oh, we got some dudes.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
We
We
got
got
some
it.
dudes coming.
We gotta just put it on the tape, and we're there.
Hmm. Before we get out of here, Left, do you remember as I said before, we're doing the prime time show tonight because I had the pleasure of uh, going to my niece's, my wife's niece, well, which is my niece, um, eighth grade graduation, Left. And it was a pinning ceremony and an award ceremony. And then the graduation is tomorrow.
Mm.
And I was confused. I'm like, wait a minute. I don't even remember my eighth grade graduation. I was trying all day to remember how my eighth grade graduation went. And I'm like, I cannot remember, bro. I don't know what we did. I'm like,
That's a big graduation. They start doing fifth grade graduations.
yes, I heard about that.
Now what is that? That's not no
That's
graduation.
because junior high school was like sixth grade, right?
I
In
mean,
some
what?
states.
You just go is preschool. Then you got
Yes.
kindergarten graduation.
Right. Right.
Next graduation is eighth grade.
Facts.
What's this fifth grade nonsense?
Facts.
You don't even change uh
Well,
the
I
physical
went to a school. I went to a school that was K through 3. So I had a third grade graduation. And then I went to a school that went up to eighth grade.
man. I don't know. Maybe I thought it was odd because I'm like, what are we celebrating? You don't even change. Your voice don't change. You don't get no taller. Fifth and sixth grade, you probably stay the same until eighth grade.
Yeah. Yeah. Man, I just don't know. I just don't know. I had no recollection at all of my eighth grade graduation, and it upset me for about an hour today.
Really?
I was sitting at the table like talking to my wife, like I cannot remember where my graduation was. Like, yo, I'm like, I'm really bugging. Like, I'm just wondering, and I asked my wife, and my wife said she was struggling. And then we tried to collectively remember my daughter's eighth grade graduation. I did know the venue, but my wife was like, "What did she wear?" And I'm like, "You're asking the wrong person now. I
Yeah,
have no clue
we've done
what
enough.
she wore." So that's crazy within itself. Lucky Lefty podcast, newcomer of the year, newcomer of the year, early newcomer of the year for Notre Dame. As we talk early returns right here on the Lucky Lefty podcast, Apple Podcast, Spotify, CFB Nation in conjunction with Irish Breakdown, all of our great content. Lock in with us. It's the Lucky Lefty podcast, home of the misguided passion. You already know we spin it different. Give me a newcomer. And you can't choose Sam Hartman. Come on, dog.
No, it would probably be Nolan Ziegler. I think he'll have an impact uh more than what we would expect going into the season. I think he just fits well, and it's one of those like you don't expect much, but whatever he does over the expectation is going to be big. So I'm not thinking he's going to go out there and be a Brian Urlacher, but I'm not expecting the same level right now like I would from a Jalen Steen. So if he achieves above those expectations, I mean he's off and running. I think he's going to have a good career here.
Mm.
Now that's probably on the lower tier of impact players, next to the Jason Anyes and the guys that we've heard about a lot in camp. But I just think throughout the season, injuries and guys move up and down on the chart. I think he's going to play a major part for the team
Hmm.
when it matters.
I can see something along those lines. I'm going to go and take a step out and say Jadarian Price is newcomer early. I think he gets a shot early.
We just got the Penn State running back though.
I think Jadarian is going to get a look before him. I like, man, I left. You know what? You know what? You just said this, and I know you would do justice to it. So I'm gonna let you go ahead and break down his film. He looks like the 4 star. Looks like he is. We should probably get him on the show, Left.
Oh, the transfer running back.
Yeah, Devin Ford. Devin Ford. Now, would you like to look at his Penn State film, or would you like to look at his high school film?
Oh, he probably didn't play at Penn State, huh? Or didn't
No,
play.
he had a few good runs.
Come on, if he transferred, he probably didn't play too much.
He had a few good runs, bro. He had a few good runs. I think we can pull it up.
He was number one running back out of high school. Well, the Penn State running back they got over there now, the freshman, he's nice.
Oh no, the top 2 running backs they have right now.
Oh, they got another guy?
Oh, the 2 running backs they have right now are ridiculous, bro.
The freshman from last year, he was nice.
Though they both were freshmen last year.
Oh, for real?
The top 2 running backs were both freshmen last year. Yeah, this is Devin Ford right here. That was like his freshman year. He took that the distance in one of the early games. I like his feet. That's the first thing I noticed when I looked at his highlights. He has good feet.
Yeah, we haven't had a real skill position transfer.
Does he remind you of Theo a little bit?
Definitely a guy we haven't had in a long time. You know, we've been converting other positions into running backs, but to get like a running back, that's not like a rest in peace to a George Atkinson where he's literally, he can only run straight, side to side really fast. And then you got a Zaire who can run straight and he's a one-cut guy. Then you got Theo who was not fast, but he can be all quick. This kid is usually all-around running back, sort of what I think Jadarian would be like this season is sort of what I'm watching. But you can see Dina McCullough is getting a different type of running back, different than a Kyron. Kyron was more of a underdog in the sense. This kid is more on the front street of running backs that are more the new generation, can run inside and outside the tackles, a great compliment to a power back in Aldrich Estime. And, something that I think would be refreshing to see in the backfield of a running back that's really not a one job guy or undersized running back. I'm tired of seeing that too. Not that Kyron wasn't a great force, but he's technically undersized as a running back compared to monsters they're pulling out of the SEC and at Ohio State and even Michigan. Hell, Michigan has some pretty big, solid running backs. So for us to have a guy that fits more that mold of he looked like the part instead of, putting guys back there like, is he a running back? And then he does something good like a Chris Tyree. So we're getting sizable guys. Even when we were recruiting Deuce Wright or Deuce Knight, 6'5". Okay, that looks good on the field.
Did you see the picture he took with Cam this weekend?
Oh, I didn't see it.
He took a picture next to Cam Newton. I was like, good Lord.
That's what I'm saying. When the last time we done recruit some solid?
Like he's legit 6'5", bro.
Yeah.
Legit.
Because look at Sam Hartman. He's puny. Drew puny. Ian puny. So to get a 6'5", it just make the room look a little bit okay. We got some.
Yeah.
We becoming a threat. From an intimidation factor. This kid is going to fit right into that for us. I think in that running back room is just going to be electric. We know we can produce great production out of that room, but I think it's a great compliment to Aldrich losing to Logan Diggs. In my opinion, I wouldn't say it's upgraded, but it's a healthier addition than what Logan was adding to the running back room, even with a Jadarian Price coming off injury. So to have 2 healthy guys for sure and 1 working, I think we're in the right position.
Yeah, you were talking about Nicholas Singleton, who was the heralded running back freshman that went to Penn State that ran for over 1,000, but his freshman backup, Kavion Allen, also ran for like 897 yards left. So they had two true freshmen running backs. That's why Devin Ford bounced.
Oh,
Like that's why he bounced. Because them carries, they were short. Carries was a little short, bro.
but hell, you coming over there
Back,
with kids are short. Do the
back,
scheme.
back of the milk carton, bro. Short.
But how many
Missing.
years would you expect him to get going to a school that is trying to pass more?
I'll tell you, I think coaches and offenses are going to be scared away from running the ball because of these new clock rules.
Yeah. Brian Kelly's gonna have to find an interesting way to win because you can't play keep away when you got the.
I think the new clock rules are really going to impact some offensive coordinators that don't understand how to continue being balanced. Right? Because you run for a first down, the clock's not stopping.
Yeah, you work against the clock. You got to have plays and schemes different.
Right. So now the value.
We damn near can't go in the game saying we're just going to run the ball and play keep away all day.
Right.
Against a team that's scoring a lot because we got to have a shootout.
Yeah.
We got to go down the field. We got to call some vertical plays.
Yeah.
You can't just nickel and dime, have 42 minutes of offense and 10 points at the end of the day because we'll lose. Run out of time. Shit, we're going to run out of time.
Yeah. Man, crying belly. That's funny. He said growing up is realizing Reese was a better recruiter than Marcus Freeman at Notre Dame. Please name me the big time recruit Tommy Reese got to Notre Dame.
Brandon Clark.
CJ Carr is about it. That's it. As far as quarterbacks, I can't even, man, don't talk to me about Tommy Reese and recruiting. Just don't. Just don't. His main objective was to recruit and develop the quarterbacks. He didn't. That's it.
And Jelly. Shit.
You can say what you want to say. He didn't.
Lupine. Ben Skoranek.
Tommy Reese did not recruit Cam Williams. Stop.
Ben Skoranek.
That's how you get lies. Cam was Stuckey. CJ Carr was Tommy Reese. That's it. And Tommy Reese couldn't close the deal with Dante Moore. That's a subtraction. That's a huge subtraction. So let's be real. Let's be real. Please, let's be real. And he was the lead recruiter for Chicago, and Chicago and Notre Dame's relationship is absolutely horrible right now. So we can stop, man. We can stop. Stop being a Tommy Reese apologist, man. Talk about where he hired Stuckey. Stop. Just stop. Be better. Just stop. Just stop. He's such a great recruiter that he had to come back and get Tyler Buckner. Come on. Stop. Stop. Dylan McCullough is a Marcus Freeman hire. Did you know that? Mike Mickens is a Marcus Freeman hire. Mike Mickens is the best recruiter on this staff, in my opinion. We can do this all day. Man, stop juggling Tommy Reese's stop, man. He's a grown man. He has an agent to make himself look better. You don't have to sit up here and lie for him and make things up. You don't have to do that. You don't have to do that. He couldn't. His player first he went from recruits. Now he's going to coaches. That's when you know someone's lost the argument. It's like, dude, now we're going to coaches. I love you too, my brother. I love you too. Lucky Lefty podcast. And I don't have any hate for Tommy Reese. Well, I just don't like certain things that happened while he was here. But defensive newcomer of the year. That means Not so much it's like first time starting, but really stepping into the light.
It should be either Riley Mills or Jordan Patello. One of D linemen got to be newcomer of the year if we want to set
I
the
like I like Botello. I like Botello. Jason Onye is a great candidate.
Yeah, but you can't be. It's like you can't be a newcomer and the best player either. I would just like those two to be different players.
Mm,
Already have a best player, and then the newcomer be a really good player too. That he highlighted the best player as well.
yeah. I look.
Like Jason Onye's got to be the staple, the lead horse.
He can become a staple. If he becomes a staple, that's a that's a really good thing for Notre Dame's defense.
Yeah,
If he becomes a staple in the middle of that defense.
that's right. Because I like our secondary. The linebackers going to be good supporting players, but the D line has got to start with them.
Christian Gray.
He's pretty
Another
big.
name.
Okay, that's okay. Young Buck getting in there in the rotation.
Christian Gray. He's going to sneak into that rotation. He's going to get the same opportunity Jay Mickey got. I think he's better equipped. When you look at the receivers he had to play against his senior year,
No, yeah,
all big time receivers.
he's big.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I can see him matching up with Carnell September 23rd. I can see that. Christian Gray had a scope, man. Christian Gray is not like hurt. They had a scope. His knee is fine. He's probably ready to go right now. There's nothing detrimental going on with Christian Gray. Let's see. Gabriel Rubio. Thank you, Jason Smith. That Gabriel Rubio could be someone that really jumps up on that defensive line, playing that two technique and kind of playing that nose.
He ain't gonna be taking too many double teams, so you can win the one on ones. You might have a chance.
Hey man, I'm sorry, MW Jr. Yes, I took a shot at the Jaguars. Yes. When we stepped up in the place to be.
Yes.
Yes. When we stepped up in the place to be. I'll say it I'll bring Howard Griffith on the pod. He knows. Well, let me take that back. By the time I got to high school, the Julian football and athletic program had fallen apart. When Howard was there, they ran Chicago.
Okay.
They took City like every year. So I will not lie. When I bring Howard on here again, I will tell him they ran it while he was there. But then when I got there, they were trash. They were trash athletically. I'm just saying. Things have changed. I love you, MWJ. Appreciate you. Let's see. I think that's some pretty good candidates. Did you want to throw anybody else in there? I know, Lou. I know your guy. Look, will I have to say my guy's name, or will you have a wide receiver as a newcomer?
I want to hold all reservations for newcomer wide receiver until I see something pop for me. I want to hold all reservations for receivers because it's too much margin of we can be really trash and bomb out, and then we can be really good. Sam Hartman mess around and put himself in a third round, second round draft.
So basically, I'll sit up here and say flipping Charlie Jones for the first 3-4 weeks. Like flipping Charlie Jones, bro.
Somebody's gonna pop. I don't know who. Can't even tell you. Somebody. I don't even think they know.
Oh man. Shout out to our Unc, man. He got his crib, you think, did up. So now, at first, when they ripped him off, when they ripped Unc off out there in LA, I thought maybe, is the person he was having a little issue with. Now I think Skip might have set him up, Left. I think Skip might have had the people go over there and steal his stuff, bro. Skip is mad that he's about to walk away with a nice little settlement and leave the show.
But you don't get paid a settlement on a buyout, do you? I mean,
No. If he has a contract and he decides to walk away, he is in breach of that contract.
If he walks away.
If he has a grievance that he can prove, which if he has good lawyers, I'm sure he has a grievance that he can prove. They would have to buy him out of his contract because all parties want to sever the relationship.
So you don't think it's the company doing it? You think it's him forcing the hand of the company?
Oh, man. As soon as they had that blow up, I knew he was done.
Really?
And simultaneously, Club Shay Shay is blowing up.
But that's through Fox, though.
It is.
It was through Fox.
It is. I think he went and got his own distribution, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay. So he could keep the show, but it's under something else?
Well, if they never renewed the podcast after the 2 years, if he had a 2-year deal for distribution under Fox, after that 2 years, he was open to go find his own distribution. And basically, it was his. He owns 100% of it, which he said multiple times on the podcast. He owns 100% of the podcast. So,
yeah. Well, I mean, it's unfortunate, but it's good things come to an end. I just wonder if they're going to keep a debate show on Fox,
Hey, man, your boy Skip is running out of peoples.
He ain't running out of people. There ain't that many people that do debate sports shows that's worth watching.
Man, I have no clue who he's going to bring on down.
Didn't technically he put Stephen A on?
Facts.
And he found Shannon pretty much.
Facts.
And so, I mean, he doing that. I'm sure Skip can find a good counterpart. He just old, so I'm just thinking from a age standpoint, it's a good time for him to probably exit, but he's he in good shape.
Yo, have you seen the episode with Neo in Club Shay Shay?
No, I haven't. Is it pretty good?
Yo, so the story about Lucky Day. Lucky Day was an artist that he had in his writing camp. And Lucky Day stayed at his crib for a weekend when Neo went to do a couple of tour dates. And Neo said, stay in my crib, chill, man, refrigerator, everything, man, just enjoy yourself. Neo came back that Monday morning to find this cat Lucky Day in his bed with a couple of shorties. not not in the guest room. Not the guest room, Left. In his bed.
See?
So Lucky Day was lying, right? He was using Neo's name. Yeah, this is my boy Neo crib. Bro, Neo said he had 6 bedrooms and this man just had to use. And it's funny because he got rid of them and Lucky Day ended up blowing up, a couple of years later. But that's just crazy how things happen, bro.
It's the sheets. The sheets make a difference. You got 6 rooms, but the right sheets.
It's the thread count, bro.
It's the thread count. I'm telling you, it makes a total difference. It's like, yeah, I get it. The 6 rooms, 6 beds, but them sheets on yours.
It's the thread count.
Delete. I can't get over that. It's like it's no bed without them sheets.
The thread count adds to the experience, bro.
Hell yeah.
Yo, I remember the first time my cousin, as we get ready to get out of here, my cousin was 15 and his parents bought him a waterbed, Left. And I was like, why in the world would you want to sleep in a waterbed, bro, as a teenager? I'll just leave it at that. I'll just leave it at that. I don't even want to get into the story. Let's just know that my cousin is a wild boy. He's a wild boy because I would not have had the nerve to ask my parents for a waterbed, bro. You know what time it is.
Petticoat, petticoat, petticoat junction.
It's time to get petty.
Oh, we did a good job executing.
Are you upset with something?
And fire up the Petticoat Junction train.
I just don't like you.
You don't?
No.
What is today's petty history? Petty Junction.
Yo, we appreciate everybody that joined us today.
That's right.
Yo, we know the first quarter, second quarter now. My boy is getting it in. That double-digit lead. This is John Morant's gonna be in that A block tomorrow. Left. This is gonna be done, and John Morant's gonna be in that A block. Huh? Yeah, not by half, but it's gonna end up double digits, and John Morant's gonna be in that A block. Lucky Lefty
lead the segment.
Lucky Lefty podcast. I started to put Lucky Day on the petty train for that story, bro. But he had an even greater story. How Beyonce threw him out of the session for irreplaceable.
Really?
Yeah, he said he tried to give a vocal tip, and she basically told him, you could go.
To her?
Yeah.
Who is this? He's like one of those dudes that failed so much he failed upwards, and now it's like, man, I remember this dude was a jerk. Now he just made it,
He said, he was just doing what he normally does for artists, and he didn't realize like he was in there with her, and he tried to give a tip, and he said he left, and he came back an hour later, and the song was done, ad-libs and all. He was like, dude, it was incredible. The fact that she finished that song with everything in an hour. He was like, and that's when I knew, like, anytime I send her something, there's no need for me to show up to the studio. She's got it.
See, that's crazy. That's pretty cool because, thinking of a song, I'm sure just in general is pretty hard. And then to knock it out and say you finished it when music is really never complete, right? You can never say you completed, but to do that is cool.
Hey, man, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put John Morant on the waiting list for the petty train because whenever they make this announcement, he's going on there. He's going on there, and he's going to be on there as long as this suspension is. However long he's suspended, that's how long he's going to be on the petty train. Just absolutely foolishness. Just stupid. I don't know what else to say. Enjoy the NBA Finals. Enjoy the NHL Stanley Cup Final. We appreciate you guys. We'll be back tomorrow for the Culture Friday, 21st anniversary of The Wire. 21st anniversary of The Wire. I've been retweeting scenes on my social media page all day. We'll talk about that and other things right here on the Lucky Lefty podcast. Enjoy the finals, game 1. Thank you for joining us, man. Make sure you spin it different.